And we're back, YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I appreciate that. Let's talk about Tower of Time. And there's lots to talk about. This is a hidden gem of a game. It's a party-based RPG that takes place in a mysterious tower that hides many secrets for you to uncover. Now, you control in this game an ever-growing group of characters, like an elf, and there's like a dwarf, and there's a warrior and a druid, and that sort of thing. And what's great that these characters are very different and they're very chatty. They sort of interact with one another. Along the way, you'll make some decisions that can actually impact the party and the members in a positive or negative way, depending on their attitudes and personalities, which is a nice dynamic, I think. There's lots of lore. It's sort of Lord of the Ring-ish sort of thing, vibe to it. So yeah, in this game, there's a lot to read, actually. Be prepared for that, for reading, and there's just hardly any voice acting except for in the cutscenes. Talking about the cutscenes, they are fun, but I did not really like the art of it. It looks a bit amateuristic, but I guess that could be my personal taste. Now, the world is seen from the top down, in the best tradition of the older RPGs like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, and the newer ones like Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity. The actual levels in-game are quite well designed. They branch out a lot with lots of secret passages and areas for you to explore. Environments in-game look varied and very rich in detail, and you can actually tell that the team has put a lot of work in just creating these levels, and they look amazing. Unfortunately, the characters themselves are a bit simple to look at. They're not very advanced, and it kind of look the same throughout the whole game. You cannot really tell what kind of equipment they're using, so that's kind of a bummer, I guess. So, unfortunately, you cannot rotate the camera in this game, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been nice just to move the camera around so you have always the best view on your environment. On the map, though, there are various fast travel portals, which is great. So there's no backtracking in this game. I think the biggest nuisance in these RPGs is that you have to backtrack. Not in this game. You just, on the fly can go from one place to the next. Now, what you'll be doing a lot in this game is just exploring these levels, of course, and along the way you can pick up gold. You're opening chests for loot, like new weapons and armors, and sometimes you get to sort of interact with the environment, where you can pull a lever or you can activate a statue and that sort of thing. What's a bit of a shame for me personally is that the stuff you'll find, like the loot, right, is usually just a little bit better than the stuff you already own. Like, you find a sword in this chest, and the sword is just 1 point damage better than the one you're already carrying. And the gold that you'll find is like 10 gold each. So that whole thing just gives this game sort of a grindy nature, or a grindy. I don't know. It just feels a bit grindy, and not always that rewarding to find stuff in the world. Now, there's a town screen, which is interesting because the town screen is where you actually get to upgrade certain buildings, and these buildings allow you to upgrade your characters, as you can spend points, experience points, not really experience points, but skill points on various skills, so that unlock as you go through the game. In the game, you can actually find crystals that can be used to craft new magical items or enchant existing ones. Also, a big part of the game, of course, is the combat. So let's talk about that. Now, combat takes place in various arena areas. So what happens is that you just explore the level, you see a bunch of enemies standing at a specific point in the level, you interact with that, and then you're sort of teleported to this arena, right? That's where the combat takes place, and in the arena you'll face waves of enemy types. It's like skeletons, wizards, orcs, all that kind of thing. And there are also quite a few bosses in this game, and bosses have multiple stages, so it feels like it's also inspired by the Dark Souls games as well. Now what happens is that as you fight these enemies, there's a meter on top of the screen and it has to fill up to 100% and then you've won the battle. So you'll be fighting these waves of enemies, and combat is real time with the option to press the space bar and then it sort of slows down to crawl, and you can make tactical decisions like moving your party behind cover, choosing which spell or skill to use against which enemy. And what's great, it's really tactical, because sometimes certain group of enemies require you to rush in and dispose of them as soon as you can. And in other situations, it's better to hang back and create magic traps for them to fall into, and then use your ranged party members to use those fire arrows and fire spells and all these things from a distance. So there's a lot of tactical stuff going on, and you can really dive very deep into the combat, because each enemy has a certain resistance and a certain weakness and all that sort of thing, and you can really tell, and you can sort of mold the way you want to fight these enemies. What's also great is that if you get stuck fighting a certain group of enemies, you can reallocate your skill points. You can mold your characters so that they stand a better chance, so to speak, against a certain enemy group. So it's a very flexible system. It's a very flexible game. So the combat really requires thought and persistence, and there's a lot of trial and error going on as well. So if you don't like that, it's probably not a game for you. But if you like a deep combat mechanic, then this is really what you'll be looking for. So yeah, I really like the combat, although, as I said, it can become a bit... the combat can sort of wear you down, right? It can be hard, they can overwhelm you, the enemies can overwhelm you with numbers, and it's just, yeah, you need persistence, really. If you really can't beat a certain group of enemies, then you can change the difficulty at any time in the game. So, and there are quite a few difficulty settings. So it's the game will never punish you, and it will let you continue if you want to. So that's great. Again, you cannot rotate the camera in the arena, which can be a bit of a problem when you face a lot of enemies and there's lots going on, lots of flashes, lots of spells flying about, and that sort of thing. So sometimes the action can be obscured with all that going on. But you know what? This game, what really stuck with me is that it's just so user-friendly. You know, from navigating the menus to the fact there's no backtracking to the reshuffling of your skill points, the way you want to mold your characters and all that. It's just so user-friendly. It's so easy to use and so much fun, right? This game really deserves an audience, and this game I can highly recommend you play. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.